Hello, everybody, and welcome to our ResNexus webinar all about 5 must-have ResNexus features. So this is going to be a bit of a different one from me because normally I present it, but today I thought it'd be really useful to get David Mayfield to for you to see his presentation because he did this at Academy. So Academy is this amazing event that happens in January every year at ResNexus headquarters in Utah. And I had the pleasure of going out there last January. I did a talk on social media, and David did this brilliant talk on the ResNexus must-haves. And I learned so much from it that I thought this is a great one to share with all you guys in the UK. So I'm going to share my screen and I'll turn my camera off and I'm going to let him do his presentation. And then at the end, I'll come back. And then if anybody has any questions about anything you've seen, then please do pop it in the chat and then I will answer the questions for you. So let me start sharing my screen and then we will go through. So I'll just run through quickly. So David has been working for ResNexus for the last 16 years. He's personally worked with over 2,000 properties and he's a pilot, but he is brilliant at his job. He is the best salesman in ResNexus, I think. And so he's going to talk you through, what he's learned from working with all these properties.
5 must-haves. Number 1 is waitlist. Why don't you think waitlist? Why waitlist? Why would we have waitlist be a must-have? And I mentioned that we do semi-annual reviews. I do semi-annual reviews. James mentioned fascinating. How does the waitlist work? Well, when the guest comes to your website and the unit, site, room, rental here, it's not available, you can see it says join waitlist, right? So they want that date, they go in, they join the waitlist, they're going to get a special email that says thank you for joining the waitlist. Make sure that you activate that email. Sometimes it's a confirmation and that's the wrong email to be sent out. Here it is at an RV park, so join waitlist. And here's what it looks like to you guys. So this is on the grid. And you can see that the orange shows us that somebody's waiting for that site when it opens up. Now, if there's a reservation on top of it, it'll be orange around it. You guys have probably seen this. If you don't have this activated, I highly recommend it. Oh, funny story. I did a semi-annual review with a very successful cabin resort. And while we're going through this, I said, do you want me to activate this? The waitlist, you don't have it activated. After I explained how it would work. They said, yeah. I'm talking to the GM and the assistant manager. And they said, yeah, go ahead and activate that. Well, 2 hours later, they called me up and they said, David, how do you turn it off? They're like, the owner saw that we turned this on and we've gotten so many people joining the wait list. We don't know how to manage this now. We're going to have a meeting about how to manage wait list. And I just thought it was hilarious. I was like, that's fantastic. We turn something on and boom. There's a lot to be said if that happens to you. Give me a call because I'll help you out. All right. So here it is on the calendar view. I was actually sharing this with Adrian, and she said, David, yeah, I agree. Waitlist is very powerful. I'll see somebody go into one of our European style rooms, and I'll call them up and upgrade them and put them in a little, split the cost or something like that. And I thought that's a great way to do that. I had an RV park. They are on the east side of Florida, and they had purchased the park 9 months earlier. We went in, I looked at their wait list, I was going through their semi-annual review. So this was 6 months in, and it was like this. Actually, I think this might be their property. 20, 18, 26. You guys see that up at the top there? Way too many. I said, guys, you got way too many people in the wait list. And it was 100% occupied for months and months and months. I said, it's just too high. You've got to do something here. And I said, well, what do you think we should do? I said, we need to raise your rates. We need to raise your rates. And they said, well, we bought this, we paid a consultant to help us buy this part. And he said, we're crunching all his numbers, that 15% was the highest we could go. And we went ahead and we're all 15% higher. I said, you're 50% higher and you have this many people still on the wait list. I said, you probably should have done 25, maybe 30% increase. And we're on a Zoom call, and I can see the assistant manager, the manager, the owner, and they're looking at each other like, what? We look at the consultant. And I said, I had to nicely remind him, I've been in this industry for 16 years, worked with 2,000 properties. I know they're thinking, this is the software guy. What does he know? I'm like, well, I've probably seen this a lot more than your consultant. So we came up with a strategy to help them out. And that's where revenue management comes in, right? Number 2, revenue management. Very, very important. So there's a couple of terminologies. There's a lot to do with revenue management. Nathan covered sliding rates, minimum nights. Those are all techniques that have to do with revenue management. And I've had the pleasure of working with hardcore revenue managers that worked for like Marriott, Hilton, and they've now decided to start their own boutique hotel or their own business. And I've just had the pleasure of picking their brains and finding out, what are the rules? How do you guys work that? And this is something that they have all shared with me. You've got variable pricing. This is part of your revenue management terminology, dynamic pricing, and yield management. Yield management being my favorite to talk about. Variable pricing, obviously that just means that you're going to take an assessment of the unit, the room. So like Adrian, she has units that are a little more expensive than others, right? There's more value there. So that's variable pricing. If you have an RV park and you've got a premium site, we used to take our RV up to Lagoon. It's an amusement park, and they had a nice RV park there. And if you were going to park in the grass, you paid one rate, right? Well, actually, they were doing it wrong. They're all the same price, but the concrete pads always got booked up way sooner, like months and months in advance. I never could get one. I wasn't that quick, so I was always parking in the grass, wanting to be on the pad. They should have been practicing variable pricing because people want to park on the concrete. It seems like, or more firm, stable. So here's another one. Here you've got these tents. This is a glamping site. This is Timberline Glamping. A lot of fun. I'd go take a look at their website. They've got all these photos here. They do a lot of add-ons. They're doing a lot of things correct. But here you've got your standard bell tent, and we can see it's got one bed, and it looks like down here we've got a double safari tent, and you can see that the prices are a little different there, right? So you got $149 for a bigger tent with 2 beds, and you got $134 for just the standard with 1 bed. Makes sense. That's variable pricing. Make sure you're doing that. Okay, what about dynamic pricing? Dynamic pricing, and this gets interchanged a lot. I hear a lot of people say, do you guys do dynamic pricing? And I've got to ask them, well, what do you mean? What does that mean to you? Sometimes they're talking about yield management. So dynamic pricing is dynamically setting the price ahead of time, right? So higher rates on the weekends, or a seasonal, summer, winters, right? Your peak season is going to be more than your off season. Weekends should always be higher. I am so surprised at how many of these semi-annual reviews I do, and it's a flat rate. It's a flat rate, right? We work with a perishable product, right? So once the night's gone, we can't sell it again. It's gone. And weekends usually are a lot more valuable, and that's dynamic pricing. And then you have yield management. And this is how I helped out that RV park in Florida. Okay. They were nervous. They didn't want to raise their rates like I suggested. I said, well, how about we do this? When you hit you're 70% occupancy. Let's go up a little bit. I talked about strategy. They did implement that, and now they're making about 10% more on the last 15% of the guests that book, right? So you book sooner, you get a better deal. You wait later, you realize you're going to pay a little bit more. I understand that. I mean, when we go buy airline tickets, you wait to the last minute, you're usually paying a lot more, right? And so this is an example here. You've got your months down here, December through November. Most of the year, we're just running at roughly about 40 to 50% occupancy. And then we've got July and August at 98% occupancy. A lot of times there's certain months that are just the payday months, right? And you got guests that are booking up in advance. I can't tell you, I don't know if frustrated is the right word, surprised maybe. I get surprised. I get these new campgrounds, or I'll get these hotels that come on and they'll say, well, how are you really going to help us out? We're already 100% occupied for this summer. And according to the revenue managers I've worked with, if that was the case, somebody's getting in trouble, because you're definitely leaving too much money and you're working too hard, right? We all want to work less, make more money, right? We're undervaluing our property. This reminds me about a property, Sarah at the Union Gables in New York, Saratoga Springs, New York. We just had put out yield management. She just came on. She was working with me for like a month, and she calls me up late at night. She says, David, this one weekend here is really booking up fast. Remind me, how do I change my rates? And I said, oh, let me help you out. Let's change those rates. But tell me, what do you think's going on? Well, they're booking up. I just keep seeing these confirmation emails come in for this exact weekend. And I said, well, maybe it's like a big family reunion. She's like, no, they all have different names. They're all coming from different areas. I want to just go ahead and raise the rates. She didn't do yield management, right? She didn't believe in it, didn't want it before this. And so I showed her how to raise the rates. And then it was the weekend. So I called her up on Monday. I said, how did it go? And she's like, yeah, we're 100% occupied for that weekend. And thanks for helping me out. So then I called her like 6 months ago and I said, hey, I'm doing a presentation on yield management. Can I share your story? And she said, yeah, of course. And then have them call me. This is a long time ago. This is when I've been here 16 years. So if you call her, she might not remember this, that she offered to help out. But she's like, yeah, have them call me. And so I'm calling her, months later, asking her for permission. She says, yeah, I found out that the Dave Matthews Band had just put out their tour schedule. And then I talked to the guests and they said that I was the cheapest thing in town after they stayed. And so she's like, we got to do yield management, because she doesn't want to be caught unaware, when something like that happens. Okay, so some of your basic rules, right? When you're 70% occupied, that's when it should probably trigger. This is according to revenue managers, not David Mayfield. 100% occupied. Are you ever 100% occupied? Weekends, things like that. Very easy to go back using the grid with ResNexus and see what it looks like the last 2 to 3 years, go to your peak seasons and see how it looks. You also do have some reports on that. Here we have, again, the rules just broken up into a nice pie chart here. 71 to 90%, go up by 10%, $10. If this is a new philosophy for you, new paradigm. 91 to 100%, go up 20% or $20. And by using yield management, sometimes it's almost like putting in an extra room or an extra RV site with that extra revenue you're going to grab. Here we've got travel protection, number 3. Travel protection, Nathan went over it quite extensively. It definitely is a must-have. You guys probably know how travel protection works. That we go ahead and we manage the cancellation if it's within the 2 weeks before check-in. We do it for free. We cancel the reservation for you for free. So it's really going to help out with saving on payroll. Also, you keep that money. Let's say it's $500. We refund the $500. Now, if it's outside of that period and you cancel the reservation and you give the refund, right? So it's months in advance and you just want to give back the money, the travel protection fee is non-refundable, so you could keep it. So if it's 10% of a $700 stay, that's $70 that you would keep for your efforts, right? So definitely a must-have. How does that work? They can opt into it, out of it. You've probably heard already that we've got new features, sickness and injury. We started this back because of COVID, wanted to protect you guys. And then now we've got weather and cancel for any reason. So number 4, sidebars and add-ons, right? I get a lot of folks that come on, I say, teach them all about sidebars and add-ons. Like, what could you do to add to your guest experience, right? A lot of times they'll say, well, we really don't want to deal with the hassle of that. And I get that. I respect that. If you just feel too busy, you don't have time to, upsell them on something or add something to their stay, I understand. But it really increases your conversion rate, meaning as the guests are making that reservation, they might be looking at 2 or 3 other properties that are your competitors. And those competitors could be 5 hours in opposite direction than you. And they go onto your site and they start booking these fun things into their reservation. They go over to your competitor and they don't have any of these fun things. They're building a custom reservation. They're getting emotionally attached to staying with you, where the other one is just simply a night stay, right? So increasing the guest experience. We talk about occupancy and what happens, with your revenue. You're 100% occupied. You're maxed out. There's nowhere to go. Congratulations. You've done everything right. Well, we can go and overflow this, right, by doing these add-ons. And with the sidebars. Now, with the add-ons and the sidebars, there's contactless check-in. I don't know if you guys have activated that yet. It's a great feature. With contactless check-in, before or during their stay, they can also click and add any of the add-ons on for their convenience. So right from their cell phone. Let's see. So we've got, dinner for 2, couples massages, bottle of wine. It could be something like a coffee mug. So let's see, here we go. So I've got a property in Kentucky. It's the Bourbon Manor Inn. The innkeeper's name is Tim Allen. And Todd, no, that's wrong. Todd, not Allen. I'm getting mixed up with Tool Time. So Todd, I was at a conference in Orlando, and this is many years ago. I want to say like 6 years ago. He comes over. I'm working the conference floor, and he says, David, you got to take a look at my retail report. You got to see how much I've sold. I was like, this is great. So we sat down. I'm thinking, he's probably really excited about $2,000 to $3,000. And we sit down. We go into his reports, and my jaw dropped. I was like, $75,000 in just add-ons alone. But he does have the bourbon tours. He's got bourbon chocolates. He's got bourbon jam. He's got bourbon toast spread. He's got bourbon everything. And a lot of what he does is also the early and late checkout fees. Makes a ton off of those. It makes sense though. You got the bourbon tours, right? People are really excited to go on the bourbon tour. What they want to do is they want to put their luggage. They've got an Uber maybe. They want to drop off their luggage, maybe lay down for a minute, and then they're off to do the distilleries, which is a lot of fun. We did a conference over there, and I went through the distilleries. I'm not a big bourbon drinker. That stuff is way strong, but a lot of fun. I actually asked him if I could share this story with you, and he said yes, a long time ago. He's a great guy. He's a Southern gentleman. Every time I talk to him, he's just got this Southern accent. The way he talks, I'm just always learning a little bit more from him. Um, no. So I did a semi-annual review with him about 2 months ago, and we're going through everything. And I said, "Hey, remember retail?" Reminded him of his experience, and he's like, "David, thank goodness for retail. It's really, everything else kind of pays the bills. This is what I feel like, is extra gravy for me and the staff." And we went and looked at his report, and it was over 6 figures now that he's doing at those retail items. Yeah, if you want any help, I was able to help some folks yesterday. Had some bundles of firewood and things like that to the sidebars and about there. So number 5, the last one, marketing, building your brand. We've got those tools built in. I'm really proud of ResNexus. We got more tools than anything I ever hear about out there. But one thing is cart abandonment. I believe we're one of the only companies that has cart abandonment built in. Now, we started this years ago because James and I went to a conference at the Queen Mary in Long Beach, and one of the marketing companies says, "You've got to check in with this company. They're doing this." They didn't call it cart abandonment. That's kind of our terminology. They're doing this re-engagement. They're sending out these emails. You got to check them out. So James gives them a call, and they said, "Yeah, what we do is we gather that information, and then we're going to send out an email, an hour later, inviting the guest back to the website to complete a reservation. If they don't make a reservation from that email, they get one the next day or 2 days down the road, right? 2 days later." And this actually is really good in engaging them. And so I don't know if it was James or Nathan, but I think it was James. He looked through the legal, and they were reserving the rights to share that guest with any of their customers outside of the ResNexus network that might, to keep that guest coming to that area, I guess. We didn't like that. I don't know if you guys like that, but if it's your guest, we don't want to be sending them somewhere else just because this wasn't the right time for them to make that reservation. Nice thing is with cart abandonment, even if they don't book with you from those emails, their information is still stored in your database. I don't know if you knew that. So also when they go to the wait list, they've never stayed with you. They're just a potential guest. They go into the marketing emails. So your marketing campaign is growing all the time without you having to do anything, right? Just ResNexus is building that for you. Okay. So welcome and thank you emails. We've almost always had these welcome and thank you emails since I can remember. But one thing that we did, there's a couple things you want to do. I highly recommend if you're on the professional edition, the Essentials edition gets one of each. That's new. A few years ago, we started doing that. You had to have Pro to get just one thank you and one welcome email. With the professional, though, you can have as many as you'd like. And there's a gentleman in Vermont, Tim Brady. He's owned 2 properties with us now. Sold his first one, started a second one. He also owns Mondo Media, and it's a marketing company, digital marketing company. And when I was doing the semi-annual review with him, I found out that he was doing the thank you email, a day or 2 later with the review. He'd leave the review, your 5-star review, and then he had another email. It's like, what's this email right here? It goes out 2-3 months later. He had it 2 months, and he says, "This is really working well." And in that email, he will say, "Can you believe it? It's been 2 months since you stayed with us. We'd love to have you back. If there's any time in the future that you find you're going to be in our area, please click the check availability below." And it was working very well. So what do? I start learning from other properties and what they're doing. I'm sharing that with you today. You can have multiple thank yous, multiple welcomes. And now with the welcome, you guys probably all know this, but you can have the link to the contactless check-in. So when they get that email, they can go in and they can extend their own stay through contactless check-in if it's available. They can go ahead and pay. I was really trying to get my my Delta Sky Miles up, and I got their little credit card. So I was going in and I was paying for things in December, hoping that I could get to the next level with Delta, so I could get their rewards. So can you imagine people going in and saying, well, hey, if I can pay now, I'll go ahead and pay. And then you get the cash early. That's always good, right? Um, they can also add, like I said, retail items through that welcome email. And I'd highly recommend at least 2 welcome emails, maybe 3. And it can say things like, you plan it 30 days out. Hey, we look forward to seeing you next month. You got another one that goes out a week in advance. We look forward to seeing you in 7 days. Then one day before. And maybe you've got some map and directions. Now, I did have a property I was sharing that with, and she's like, I don't want to do that. I hate getting all these emails. I don't want to bombard them with emails. Well, most of you guys, I'm sure, your guests are looking forward to that stay. Maybe it's 18 degrees out and they can't wait to get away from that, right? They can't wait to take this break. I've never looked at an email from anywhere that I've ever stayed and go, can't believe they reminded me of that stay I can't wait for. Right? And and what she was doing, and I do this a lot, is we project, right? We project what our beliefs are. I don't like getting these emails. I'm not going to send these emails. Well, it works. I mean, Best Buy sends me an email every single day. I don't know how they do it. They must have this marketing team that's just like email every day, and it works. A couple years ago for my birthday, bought myself, a big screen TV. So also, with marketing, always make sure go double check your emails, okay? Because when I do these samurai reviews, I notice that a lot of times we don't have logos. The picture looks really out of date. It's just good to go and polish those things, right? That could be your 5. Pictures are big, Adrian. We're always neglecting photos. It seems like I don't know how you guys do that, but and those make a big difference. They're worth every penny. So here we've got an email going out. Sorry, we're closed for a hurricane, so we're informing the guest. What I really like is when I see properties saying we are open, during this hurricane season. I had a lot of, properties up in the Panhandle of Florida. They weren't getting hit with anything, but people were canceling all the time. Or you're in Northern California and people are concerned about the fires. Send an email and say, hey, come stay with us. It's smoke free, you know, something like that, right? All right. So a couple of numbers here. This is ResNexus Global Booking Success. I get a lot of folks that come over from other systems and they'll say, well, we get most of our reservations from the OTAs. That's down there at 23.3%. They'll say we get half of everything. Sometimes it's even higher than that with the OTAs. And of course, I feel confident and hopeful that we'll be able to help them turn that around because there's a lot of commissions that they're paying out. You can see that with phone reservations, we're at 37.2. And this is all based on last year's numbers, 2024. But online bookings was almost 40% of all the reservations were made online. ResNexus on your websites outperforming the OTAs. And that's really exciting. A fun one to look at is the calendar. You actually can filter on the calendar if you have a lot of OTAs, and it'll count down on like up to 62 days. It'll show you at the top left. It'll show you how many you had from Airbnb, Booking.com, Expedia, phone, and then online. And a lot of times it's fun to show that to you guys during the semi-annual review because online has the bigger number out of that all. Okay, so booking success. This is comparing 2023 to global hotels, and they were having an online booking success of about 38%. ResNexus properties averaging 76.7%. Alrighty, back to this graph. You guys have seen this before. Just to recap the 5 must-haves, right? So you've got sidebars up there at the top, number 4, retail items and travel protection right there, specials and packages, cart abandonment, newsletters, birthdays, and anniversaries. With birthdays and anniversaries, a strategy that I see that's working for a lot of our properties. Send those birthdays and anniversaries out a month in advance. Give them time to react. So you send that out 31, 32 days in advance, and it would say something to the effect of, congratulations, your birthday's coming up here next month, or we saw that your birthday's coming up, your anniversary's coming up. We'd love to have you come and stay with us if you haven't planned, anything. If you haven't made any special arrangements, come and stay with us. That does work. We're seeing that can help increase that return guest rate as well with the birthdays and anniversaries. Those that have your laptops, if you're logged in, you actually can go to Fun Reports, an old one. But if you go to Reports and then find Guest Summary, I was showing the folks yesterday that they had about 1,300 birthdays and anniversaries combined, but we never activated the birthday and anniversary emails. So it's under Reports, Guest Summary, and that'll break it all down for you and let you know how many birthdays and anniversaries you have with us.
Well, that is it from David. I hope that was really useful. And I would love it if you had any questions for me about any of the above. I have got a couple here. Let's have a look. So firstly, well, a couple of things I wanted to say first. One is about travel protection. So in David's presentation, it mentioned that there's travel protection for adverse weather, including rain. They do have that in the United States. We do not have that in the UK for obvious reasons. It just rains all the time, and therefore everybody will be cancelling. We do have cancel for any reason still though, which is a 75% one. So people can still cancel if it is, if it's raining and your property is really dependent on the weather like ours is. So there is still that option. The other thing I was going to say about birthday and anniversary emails is that it's great also to use it if you collect the birthday and anniversary details. It does mean that then if you can put a little something extra in for them if you want to elevate that guest experience. So like if I know it's somebody's birthday coming up, I might put them some balloons in there or some cake or something a little bit extra just to make them feel special, and that's that how you elevate that guest experience. So questions. So waitlist. How would I contact somebody if they join the waitlist? So this is something that we've just had loads of people join our waitlist for lots of different reasons. And it can happen if they're trying to book your particular unit, and they can see 2 days of availability, but maybe they want to say 3, and so it will overlap with something that's already booked, and then they'll join the waitlist. So what I've been doing is as soon as I get a waitlist confirmation through, I will go and I will email that person to say, I'm terribly sorry, this isn't available right now, but I have these dates and these dates available, or I could do a 2-night stay instead of a 3-night stay for you. And then you've started that email communication, and then they'll normally get back to me and say, oh, unfortunately, we can't do that, or could we have a look and see what other dates, or do you have another unit available? So it's starting that dialogue as well. And then also, as David said, you're getting that email contact onto your mailing list, so then they'll get those promotional emails in the future, which is great. Is there any other questions? Sidebars. So in the sidebars, what should I put on the sidebars? So there's lots of different things you can put on the sidebars. You can put your specials and packages, you can put some retail items. So I've just got our campfire hamper because that's one of our best sellers onto the sidebar. I've also got our join our newsletter, so you can have that on the sidebar as well, so that if you want people to start, if they're just looking and they haven't input their email address, they haven't booked yet, you can just get them to click on the newsletter button, put their email address in there, and then it's all different ways of getting these email addresses, which are just that's what you want to do, is build your email list. So So yeah, but you can also put packages on there. So if you've got like a stay and a couples massage or something like that, you can do that as a package and then put that on the sidebar. But then can also go on as a must-see tab, like all the retails items can be a must-see tab. Or you can do your specials and packages tab as well. So yeah, lots of different options there. But yeah, I think that I don't have any other. If anybody has any other questions, then please do put it in the chat. Um, but yeah, if I haven't got any other questions, then and I know that's quite a lot of information as well. There's a lot to think about. But if you need anything at all, then please do feel free to email me. It's vjones@resnexus.uk. We also have a WhatsApp group for ResNexus users. So it's just me and all the UK users of ResNexus. It's just UK specific. And it's just a way of like, if you think, oh, I just can't quite remember how to do that something right now, or you want some kind of community support, then you can just join our WhatsApp group. And if you do, please feel free to email me, vjones@resnexus.uk, and I will add you to that WhatsApp group if that's helpful. We also have a Facebook group. Um, it's outdoor hospitality really, but I'm really saying that any hospitality is more than welcome to join this group. It's called Outdoor Hospitality Owners and Managers Forum. So that's on Facebook. And again, it's nice, lively chat. It's kind of talking to people about how the season's going, what kind of guests you're having, that sort of thing. So it's a really nice way of connecting with people and other people who are in the same industry. But yeah, it was great to have so many people joining our webinar today, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you very much for joining. Take care.